What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of MUT Tips. I'm your host, Sean Taylor from the Made Up Theater. And before we jump in, make sure to like the video, comment with something you would like addressed in a future video, and as always, subscribe on YouTube to be informed of upcoming videos. But without further ado, let's jump into today's topic, 5 tips for creating characters. Tip number 1 is gibberish. I did a whole video about gibberish in the past, so go check that out for more advice about using gibberish. But gibberish is very emotive, very expressive. One of my favorite uses of gibberish in media is from the video game The Sims. I like The Sims 1 especially. I'll put a link down below where you can hear some sound samples, but it's very expressive, very emotional, but still very believable and very real. It sounds like real people doing it. And since there's less emphasis on the dialogue and the content and more on that expression, it's very useful for getting into characters, especially since it's really emphasizing the use of your mouth that could just start to take over your face and then it could take over your body. So to practice it, just do like a typical greeting and introduce yourself, but in gibberish, So for example, I would be like, hey, how's it going? My name is Sean. That's a greeting, but now do it in gibberish. So, something like that. And now, do that exact same greeting, but change it a bit. Like maybe do a deep voice, like, don't worry about using the same gibberish. In fact, try to use different gibberish every single time, so you just flex your muscles a little bit, right? And maybe now do a little more of a high voice, like, maybe it's more youthful, like, like that. Or do like a raspy voice, and just play around with like different ways to express, like maybe angry, like, like I'm angry but I'm greeting someone in gibberish. That's a fun, interesting character, right? Play around with different emotions that you attach to the gibberish. Play around with different ways to use gibberish because that is going to, again, help you, like, it's almost like it infects your body. The gibberish, the mouth movements, it just takes over your whole body and creates a new character that you definitely probably haven't come up with before. Tip number 2 is impersonating a voice. I don't see this in improv a lot unless it's like a short form game where the goal is to actually impersonate celebrities or cartoon characters or whatever, but it's used a bunch in animation, a bunch. And one of my favorite shows is The Simpsons, and a lot of the characters on that show are based on real people. Mayor Quimby's character is essentially an impersonation of JFK. It's not a perfect impersonation, which is good because when we hear Mayor Quimby talk, we don't think of JFK, we think of Mayor Quimby. And Chief Wiggum is an impersonation off of Edward G. Robinson. Yeah, see, that type of character. And you go to other animation too, like Stewie Griffin from Family Guy is an impersonation of Rex Harrison, or Roger from American Dad, that alien character, is an impersonation of Paul Lynde. And, the Brain from Pinky and the Brain, that's Orson Welles, baby. There's so many distinct characters that are based off real people, so hey, let's do it in improv. So the best way to practice this is just go to some form of media that you enjoy. So like, TV show, cartoon, movie, video game, and just like quote some characters from that source of media. So one of my favorite video games is Resident Evil 4, and there's a character in it that I love called the Merchant. I like to quote this character a lot. He essentially is this like gruff character, very sly, and he would just say stuff like, "What are you buying? What are you selling?" Thank you. Stuff like that. And I love doing that voice and quoting those lines, but I could take that character and just put it in a scene. Like maybe I'm a cashier using that voice, "What are you buying? Paper or plastic? Clean up on oil too." Or I can take it even out of like, the transaction type scene and put him into like, maybe he's a babysitter. Like, "What are you doing? I said no cable after 9. Stuff like that. It's an interesting character that is different from like a traditional babysitter character, right? And don't worry about it being perfect. Bad impersonations are great characters, okay? So like one of my favorite characters is Homer Simpson. I can't do his voice. I don't know how to do it. It's just difficult for me, but I can still be inspired by that voice to create my own unique character. So maybe I use Homer Simpson's voice to create a character who's maybe going through a bad breakup or something. Like, and you just do a monologue about it.
"Oh, I can't believe she broke up with me. I don't know what to do with myself.
I think I'm just gonna go in my room and sob. You know, that's a bad Homer Simpson voice, but I'm trying to do his voice, but it still creates a unique character. So don't be afraid, commit to the bad. Tip number 3 is movement. I've talked about this before, where like movement can create great characters just based on like, you know, body parts that you're focusing on or emphasizing or leading with. And I've talked about that in previous videos, but let's talk a little bit more about different types of movement, okay? Because that can create interesting characters. And you can emphasize the movement on a scale of like 1 to 10, 1 being subtle, 10 being extreme. So a few great terms for movement might be like percussion, you know? Like it's kind of like almost a rhythmic type of movement. Like it could be with your hands, it could be with your head, it could be with your feet. So like for example, if I use my hands to be kind of percussive, I might go like this. This is just like a level 1, where it's kind of like I'm drumming on my chest, right? And I can go up even higher, like maybe like go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and like get to 10 where like, see like when I'm doing that, it's causing my face to change too. Like my eyes are kind of bulging, I'm leaning my head forward. I did that just because I felt very rhythmic and I just felt like more intense in my head too. And that can inspire a voice like, hey, what's up, mates? You guys wanna go to the stag tonight? You know? And that just came from just being like treating my chest like a drum, and it could be on your your knees. It could be on your like just even like this. This is kind of percussive. It's all stuff that you can use, or maybe like a bounce, like bounce something. You know, it could be like bouncing like your hands. Like it's almost like I'm composing. Like this is subtle, you know, and a subtle character can come from this. Like you know, based on this type of movement, I think that I'm kind of like maybe a little bit more intense, but like still kind of like low in the voice, like. So I noticed that you were late to class again. That's very naughty. You know, something like that. But it could be even more like a bounce, like maybe in my head, like this, just like this. Hey guys, what you doing? Oh, can I come with you? Can I come with you? You know, and that becomes a character, right? And you know, other forms of movement could be in the form of, you know, like collapse. Like, you know, like collapse your head, like, you know, or like your chest, you know, like feel a body part kind of like collapse into itself. You know, like my arm, for example, I can go like that and like suddenly like my arms are like collapsing into my body. And this could be a character. It almost feels like my arms are connected to my torso. And it's kind of like, hey, what's up everybody? Hey, we ready to get drunk tonight? Yeah, oh yeah. So focus on like flowing the movement of body parts or your body. Again, subtle to extreme, and see what type of characters you find. Work outside, then work to the inside. Tip number 4 is embody a non-human. So a lot of great inspiration can be taken from things that are non-human, like animals or objects, anything in between. And you can take those characteristics and put them into a human character. So for example, let's take like an object like a tea kettle. So let's get 3 defining characteristics of a tea kettle, okay? So when I think of a tea kettle, I think of it like, you know, they're big and round, okay? So big, round, okay? My bigness, my roundness might affect my voice as well. I also think of, yeah, they have like a handle, so like a hand on my hip, which can, you know, can take on like, you know, my attitude, right? That can help inspire it, and maybe like a vocal thing now. So when tea kettles get hot, they whistle, right? Something like that. So that can inspire something like a quirk that I have in the scene. So I might come into a scene and be like, well, what do we got here? Looks like we got quite a leak in this here house. Man. Boy, it's gonna cost a pretty penny to get me to fix this, yeah. Yeah, just like that. Whistling's not my strong suit, but as you can see, it created kind of an interesting character, and it kind of helped inspired what I would say. My hand on my hip meant I was kind of like, you know, carefree, a little casual, a little bit snarky too. My openness made kind of a big voice, just like that. And my whistle was just kind of like, you know, again, it was just like a quirk, but it helped kind of reinforce my attitude. Like I was kind of just a little bit childish. So the best way to practice this is just look in like your environment, like your room or something, point at something and just take 3 characteristics from it and put it into your body, okay? Into your body, into your voice. It could be an animal, it could be an object. Like if there was another object, maybe I'd pick like a phone or something. That's right in my room right now. And what are some defining characteristics of a phone? Like maybe there's just a lot of information, so kind of like smart, like I'm a smart character. A phone also is, light, so maybe I'd feel a little bit light and be smart. And they also make like noises, like a ringtone, like ding, So that can inspire a character, like ding, I have the answer to that solution, very much so. That's inspiration from a phone. Take anything, you can get a word generator too, like Sakyo. There's another great word generator that's called suggestion generator. I'll put a link down in the description. And there is objects that fit in your hand. I can click that a few times. And maybe I'll do a thermometer, some characteristics of a thermometer. Very thin and very tall. So I just feel very thin and tall. Like my chin even goes upwards to emphasize my tallness. Maybe it's just the liquid kind of like the mercury kind of comes through the body. So maybe I feel like as I'm talking, I can feel almost like a ball go up into my throat. It's kind of affecting the way I talk. A thermometer is also, kind of has a round head. So maybe I just kind of feel like helium kind of in my head, And then I talk like this. Well, what I would say is perhaps we should evacuate into the basement, Again, it's unique, it's different. Try that out. And tip number 5 is put the triangle in the square. Remember when we were kids and we had those little blocks like a triangle and we learned to put the triangle in the triangle, the square in the square, right? But now we're gonna play around with just putting something where it doesn't necessarily belong to create an interesting character, okay? So for example, putting a triangle in a triangle means if you were to play a pirate character, you'd play a traditional pirate character, like, "Arr, let's go scour the 7 seas and get some booty." That's putting the triangle in the triangle. But put the triangle in the square means the triangle is a pirate and the square is a characteristic that maybe doesn't fit with a pirate, but we're gonna treat it as though it does, okay? So what are some characteristics that don't fit with a pirate? Like maybe a shy pirate, or a giving pirate, or a nasally pirate, These are kind of some characteristics that don't fit, but we commit to that and we come up with something different, right? A way to practice this is get 3 things, okay? And I'll show you in just a moment how we can do this with a word generator. So get a characteristic, which could be like an adjective, something descriptive, okay? Next, you're gonna get a character. So some type of noun, or it could be an occupation, some type of fictional type character, whatever you want. And last but not least, you're gonna get a premise. So this could just be like a location, for example, or some type of activity, something like that. Those 3 things, and then from those 3 things, you're going to do a character. I'm gonna bring up the suggestion generator app. Again, I'll put a link in the description down below. And luckily, there's 3 categories that are right next to each other. Adjective, which will inform the characteristic, noun, which will inform the character, and non-geographical location, which will inform the premise, okay? I'm gonna just click these at random, see what I come up with, and just kind of jump into a character, okay? So I'm gonna start with a characteristic in the form of the adjective and wacky, okay? So that's my adjective, my characteristic. I'm gonna click noun a bunch of times, stop there. And I'm gonna be a wacky horse, and non-geographical location. Again, this will inform the premise a bit. It's going to be a power plant. So I'm gonna be a wacky horse in a power plant, okay? Ooh, this will be interesting. So think about just based on the premise, the power plant, so that would inform maybe what I'm doing there. So I would think maybe I'm at a console, but I'm gonna be this wacky horse guy. Oh, looks like we're gonna have ourselves a reactor meltdown. Something like that. And play around just that premise, that idea of being this character within this environment, this scenario. And you can play around with it as much as you want. You might get some really oddball stuff with this app because, I've gotten things of just a lace as a noun. And it's just what, a lace? Whatever that means to you, just define it yourself and commit to whatever the definition is. All 5 of these tips are easily things that you can practice with fellow improvisers or on your own, okay? In terms of practicing the characters, once you have an inspiration for some type of a character, feel free to it could be a monologue as simple as just describing your life or describing something you love as this character or something you dislike as this character. Or you could even put yourself in a platform, like put this character on like a cooking show or put it on the Home Shopping Network or put it as like you're giving a retirement speech. Anything like that, something that is based around some type of solo presentation, but you get to really flex those character muscles using one of the tips I provided. Try it out and let me know how it was. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this episode of MUT Tips. But hey, before we leave, we had ourselves a little competition from episode 85.
Epic Photo Challenge.
Let's go ahead and announce the winner. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner is...
I am Malo Morte, and I'm gonna make you Morte. And tonight, here at Wrestle Crazia, I'm going to reveal my true self to you, my loyal fans. Flamenco Sam, when you come to in the ring, this is the beautiful face that you will see. Face of Morte. Because I'm gonna make you Morte. Flamenco Sam, listen up, man. Your days are numbered, your hours and seconds are numbered. The new Intercontinental Champion is me, Malo Morte. And I'm gonna make you Morte.
All right, congratulations. Thank you so much for anybody who participated in the challenge. Winner, I'll go ahead and contact you and give you your prize. Other than that, thank you so much for joining again. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time for another episode of MUT Tips. Bye.